The last study before invasion, the ship named Inevitable Conquest hung silently above Earth. Its metal skin reflected no light. No human radar could see it. Inside, Commander Zixal stood by the main window looking down at the blue planet below. "A beautiful world," he said, his voice making a clicking sound between words. "Shame we must take it." The Maraxis had studied Earth for 50 years. They watched human TV shows, listened to radio, and read the internet. The Maraxis were taller than humans with gray skin that looked like stone. They had 4 arms and eyes that could see in the dark. Their homeworld was dying. They needed Earth. "Commander, the Council is waiting for your final report," said Officer Vexna. She was smaller than Zixal, tall with bright yellow eyes. Zixal turned from the window. "Yes. One last study before we bring the fleet. We must be certain." The meeting room was cold. The Maraxis liked cold. 7 officers sat around a table made of something like glass. A map of Earth floated above it. "Our studies show humans are weak," said General Erkin. "Their bodies break easily. They can't see well. They can't hear well. They die from simple things like cold and heat." Croak, the combat expert, nodded. He was the biggest Maraxis on the ship. His upper arms had scars from many battles. "Their weapons are simple. Their armies are small. They fight each other more than any outside enemy. But they are many," said Peltith, the culture expert. She was old with skin that had turned almost white. 6 billion spread across the planet. And they are unpredictable. Zixal looked at the map. "This is why we need one final study. We need to see humans up close. Not through cameras or radio. We need to see what they do when they think no one is watching." "Where should we go?" asked Vexna. Zixal touched the map. It zoomed in on a green area. "This place. The humans call it Montana. Not many people. Easy to stay hidden. Many natural dangers. So we can see how humans handle trouble." "I will prepare the pod," said Croak, standing up. "Choose 3 others to come with us," said Zixal. "Small team. Quick study. 2 days on Earth. Then we report to the Council." As the others left, Peltith stayed behind. "Commander, I have studied humans for 20 years. They surprise me still." Zixal made the hand sign that meant continue. "They are weak in body, yes. But there is something else about them. Something I cannot explain with science. All species fight to live. It's more than that," she said. "Be careful down there. Watch with open eyes. A predator meets persistence." Sam's breath came in ragged puffs. Blood soaked the sleeve of her jacket, her left arm throbbing with every movement. But her legs were steady, her eyes alert. She crouched behind a fallen pine, watching the bear pace on the other side. Her knife was still in hand, useless against something so massive. In the sky above, the Maraxis hovered silently. "She bleeds," Croak observed, tapping the heat monitor. "Movement is sluggish. Reflexes dulled. She cannot continue." "And yet she does," said Peltith, her voice low. Down below, Sam pressed herself against the log, eyes flicking from the bear to the trees. She needed height. Escape. A chance to breathe. The bear turned. Its breath steamed in the cold air. It sniffed, growled low, and advanced. Sam didn't retreat. She grabbed a handful of snow, pressed it to her bleeding arm, gritted her teeth, and made a decision. Her boots crunched as she bolted to a tree just 10 yards away. The bear followed. It was slower now. The spray had done damage. Not enough to stop it, but enough to give her a head start. Her fingers found bark. She jumped, grabbed a branch, and climbed. One arm useless, she used her knees, her feet, even her teeth at one point, to scale the old pine. Bark scraped skin. The cold bit deeper. But she climbed. 20 feet up, she stopped, straddling a wide branch and pressing her back to the trunk. Below, the bear roared and paced. She survives through intelligence and sheer refusal, Vexna murmured. No creature we've studied acts like this. Zixal said nothing. His 4 eyes stared at the screen. Sam fumbled in her pack. Mirror. Whistle. She pulled them both out, looped the whistle around her neck, and aimed the mirror toward the sun. 3 flashes. Pause. 3 more. She blew the whistle, 3 long, piercing blasts. The bear froze at the noise, then growled. It circled the tree again, confused, ears twitching. Sam didn't stop. Flash. 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 Blow. 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 Minutes passed. Her arm trembled. Her lips were blue. But she didn't stop. Above, Vexna adjusted the audio sensors. There. Distant rotors. Approaching from the east. Croak leaned in. How? No one responded to the first call. They track their own, Peltith said. See her jacket? It carries a locator. Simple, clever. The bear roared again and slammed a paw into the tree. The trunk shook. Sam held on. Her teeth gritted. A black dot appeared over the mountains. Helicopter. Getting closer. The bear looked up. It didn't like the noise. It backed away. Growled. Paced. Then, vanished into the woods. Sam sagged against the tree. Blood loss had taken its toll. She began to climb down. Slowly. Carefully. Her boots slipped once, but she caught herself. She should remain, Vexna warned. Exertion will hasten her decline. Zixal didn't respond. Sam reached the forest floor. She stumbled toward the radio she dropped earlier. Her fingers shook as she pressed the button. Ranger right. She gasped, Pine Creek Trail, marker 16, bear attack, injured. There was a long pause. Then, Sam. This is Alan. Hold on. We're 5 minutes out. She didn't respond. She staggered toward a clearing, somewhere the chopper could see her. She dragged her orange vest off and draped it on a branch. The bear returned. From the shadows, it appeared again, drawn to the scent of blood, the sound of whistle and human breath. Sam stood. She didn't run. Didn't scream. No, she whispered, and then louder, no. She picked up a stick. Banged it against the log. Get out of here. The bear paused. Watched. The wind shifted. The helicopter's blades thundered above. Trees bent under the wind. Light broke through the canopy. The bear huffed. And vanished. Sam dropped the stick. Fell to her knees. The rescuers landed. 2 people in bright jackets ran toward her. Above them, in the sky, the alien pod watched in silence. Zixal finally spoke, she faced death. Wounded. Alone. And still fought back. The bear retreated, said Croak. Not because it feared her strength. But because it couldn't understand her defiance. She survived, said Vexna, scanning her vital signs. Barely. But she survived. Not barely, Zixal said. Brilliantly. The pod rose, vanishing into the clouds. Back on the ground, Samantha Wright was lifted into a stretcher. She smiled faintly. The first true defeat for the Maraxis hadn't come from weapons. It came from one woman's will. The council questioned strength. The Maraxis ship Inevitable Conquest cruised quietly away from Earth's orbit, cloaked from view. Inside, the council chamber was alive with tension. Zixal stood at the center, facing the semicircle of senior command and cultural elders. Behind him, the footage of Samantha Wright's encounter with the bear played again. Peltith stood beside Zixal, arms crossed, her pale eyes glittering in the dim chamber lights. Croak paced at the edge, his expression a mask of restrained disbelief. "You are telling us," began High Chancellor Urex, "that a single unarmed human, wounded and alone, resisted a superior predator and lived?" "Not just resisted," Zixal replied, voice even. "She outwitted. She endured. She won." The footage looped, Sam climbing the tree with one good arm, using light and sound to signal, standing her ground with nothing but a stick. Whispers broke out among the council. Some were skeptical, others intrigued. "Perhaps it was luck," one elder muttered. "Perhaps the creature simply lost interest." Croak slammed a fist onto the council table. "We've seen this before. In the archives. Humans who survive fires. Crashes. Attacks. They do not surrender. They adapt. They fight. Emotion," scoffed a strategist. "Primitive reflex. Not strength." "Is it?" asked Peltith. She stepped forward, holding up a data slate. "This is not an isolated case. Human history is full of individuals who overcome what should kill them. Not just soldiers. Children. Elders. Civilians. They survive because they refuse not to." She activated the slate. Footage and data streams lit up the air, a firefighter rescuing others from a collapsing building. A man amputating his own limb to escape a boulder. A child keeping two siblings alive in the wild for days. "This is not emotion. It's pattern," she said. "It's something deep in their culture. In their biology." "Irrational," muttered Urex. "And therefore, exploitable." Zixal shook his head. "We tried to measure them with our logic. Our frameworks. And they broke them all. This woman, Samantha Wright, she changed my view. Not with strength. Not with tech. With will." Silence fell. "What do you recommend?" asked the Chancellor. Zixal looked up, unflinching. "Delay the invasion. Initiate full cultural, psychological, and behavioral study. Earth is not what we assumed. Humanity is not what we expected." Croak growled. "They still bleed. They still break." Peltith answered, "But they don't stay broken." The council chamber dimmed as the footage paused on Sam's final act, standing her ground against the bear, shouting, with her arms soaked in blood and her legs shaking. The image hung in the air like a verdict. "We have seen the weapons of the powerful," Zixal said quietly. "But perhaps the greatest weapon is a species that does not know how to quit." No one spoke. Minutes later, a vote was called. It passed, barely. The invasion was delayed. But not because humans were stronger. Because they refused not to be. The science of will. The research wing aboard Inevitable Conquest had never been this active. Rooms once silent with analytical calm now echoed with fast clicks of Maraxis speech, data queries, and theory debates. Vexna stood in front of a holographic screen filled with Earth footage, neural scans, battlefield reports, and psychiatric logs. She gestured with two arms while her lower arms typed commands into the interface. "We're seeing patterns even beyond what we considered anomalous," she said. "There's an axis of resilience across all demographics. Age, class, even injury status. The will to persist is common, not rare." Croak leaned over the screen, skeptical. "And you think this mental anomaly is what makes them dangerous?" "I think it's not an anomaly," Vexna replied. "I think it's a trait. Evolved. Cultivated. She pointed to a graph showing spike patterns in human neural chemistry during survival situations. Their dopamine levels sustain in crisis. Adrenaline boosts last longer. And their behavior, it's adaptive, not reactive. Peltith entered the lab, holding several Earth cultural artifacts, books, a soldier's journal, a documentary archive. You must understand, she said to Croak, this is more than biology. It's cultural reinforcement. They train each other to survive. To resist. To endure suffering with purpose. She held up a weathered book, The Long Walk. Fiction, yes. But based on truth. And that truth is part of how they define themselves. As persistent. As indomitable. Zixal entered without announcement. Show me, he said. Vexna brought up a 3D model of the human brain. We analyzed neural cluster activity from live observation and from intercepted medical data. Humans exhibit elevated connectivity between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex during trauma. Meaning? Zixal asked. Meaning that even when in fear, they're still problem-solving. Their fear doesn't paralyze them. In many cases, it sharpens them. Peltith switched the display to a heat map of cultural records. And look at how they teach this. Survival stories. Hero myths. Disaster drills. It's in their education, their entertainment. Croak snorted. So. They're noisy. They glorify hardship. Doesn't make them better. Zixal turned to Croak. What did you feel when she stood against the bear? Bleeding. No backup. Shouting like she believed it would listen. Croak's jaw flexed, but he said nothing. It's not fearlessness that matters, Zixal continued. It's what they do despite the fear. A young analyst burst into the lab. Commander. You need to see this. He activated a side panel displaying a newly received Earth news segment. Samantha Wright was back on patrol, arm bandaged, smile firm. Back in the field already, the anchor said. Hero Ranger who survived a bear attack returns to duty. Zixal stared at the screen. We nearly invaded a species where this is normal. Peltith added quietly, or worse, where this is average. The lab fell into silence. Zixal turned back to the group. Expand the study. We need to understand their cultural programming. The reinforcement of courage. The celebration of suffering. Croak growled, but didn't argue. The Maraxis had faced powerful enemies. Armed species. Strategic species. But never one that turned its pain into purpose. The invasion that never came. The chamber was silent. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Convergence had witnessed many dramatic sessions, wars declared, species exiled, entire star systems condemned. But never had it seen the complete halting of an invasion fleet over a single data stream. Until now. Commander Zixal stood before the unified assembly, arms folded behind his back, while holograms of Samantha Wright played behind him, each frame slowed, analyzed, annotated. From her confrontation with the bear to her return to duty. We were prepared to take Earth within one planetary cycle, Zixal said calmly. And yet we've seen now that power is not the only measure of resistance. Their biology is fragile. But their will is anything but. The Anduric delegation, a long-allied species known for logical coldness, hissed disapproval. Emotion is not defense. No, replied Peltith from her place beside Zixal. But in humans, it is armor. Murmurs passed through the assembly. The recorded vote was called. One by one, members entered their choices. Should Earth be classified as a level 5 conquest target, viable for assimilation, low long-term threat? Lights glowed. Names illuminated. Then. Motion fails. Earth to be reclassified. New designation, cautionary contact zone. High risk. Do not engage. Silence followed. Zixal turned and left the hall, his face unreadable. Croak walked beside him. I still think we could have won, the warrior muttered. Perhaps, Zixal replied. But the cost? We would have conquered the land, not the people. They would never stop resisting. Not after the first planetfall. Not after 100 years. And the girl? Croak asked. She doesn't even know, Zixal said, pausing before the viewing window where Earth spun below them. She'll go on. Working. Healing. Walking among trees. Never knowing that she changed the course of an entire galactic civilization. Peltith joined them, gazing down at the blue world. We came looking for weakness. We found something we can't explain. Not weakness, Zixal said. A kind of strength we didn't understand. The strength not to conquer, but to endure. As the inevitable conquest turned silently from Earth, its course set for deep space, the records of this encounter were sealed. In time, they would become myth. A cautionary tale. A moment when a single human, standing defiant against nature, made warlords think twice. And on Earth, Samantha Wright walked another trail beneath pine and sky, unaware that the stars had once judged her, and stepped back. The end and the echo. Years passed. Earth turned, seasons changed, and humanity carried on, never knowing how close the stars had come. In Glacier National Park, Samantha Wright walked a familiar trail. Her left arm still bore the faded scar, but her gait was strong. Her reputation had become legend among rangers and survival instructors alike. They called her, the woman who stood her ground. In orbit, far above Earth's surface, a second Maraxis observation vessel returned. Smaller. Unarmed. Its mission wasn't conquest, it was remembrance. Inside, Peltith sat alone in a recording room. She wore a ceremonial sash, silver and deep blue, the colors of a historical archivist. Before her hovered a holographic archive. The Wright Protocol, Maraxis Cultural Index, Volume 7819. We watched her once, Peltith spoke aloud for the record. We judged her fragile. Alone. Unequipped. She proved otherwise. She taught us that strength is not in armor or numbers, but in the refusal to bend. She paused the recording and looked at Earth through the viewport. We did not invade. Because of her. Elsewhere on the ship, younger Maraxis cadets read the annotated case file. They saw the images of Samantha against the bear, the transcript of her shouts, the red indicators of blood loss paired with rising neural focus. The humans, they were told, had a phrase for this quality. Grit. The cadets asked questions. Is it biological? Is it mental training? Can it be replicated? Peltith only answered one, should we fear them? She replied, no, not fear. But always respect. Back on Earth, Samantha reached the top of a ridgeline. She gazed out across the snow-dusted mountains, breathing the crisp air. She never saw the vessel silently pass overhead, its lights dim, its recorders still. Above her, the stars moved. Watching. Remembering. And somewhere in the void between galaxies, among empires and dominions, her story traveled, not as warning. Not as legend. But as truth. The end.